University. My name is Hubert Grimes. I serve as the interim president of this very esteemed institution. And I'd like to share a few comments with you this morning. I do have some prepared remarks that I'm going to read from, and then I'll be open for questions thereafter. Let me share this first of all, again, having welcomed you to this historic location. This, of course, is the Bethune Room here in the library. And as you can tell from the paintings and photographs on the wall, it's historic in nature. It captures a lot of the essence of our founder, and certainly shows a number of the things that she was successful in doing, including service for the U.S. government. Bethune-Cookman, of course, is at a pivotal crossroads, and the future of this exceptional institution requires a commitment of resources, strategic planning, and leadership. I'm actually here today to address the crisis that threatens the continued viability and very existence of our beloved university. More importantly, I offer a pathway to emerge from the challenges that I inherited some 15 months ago. Our nearly 4,000 students deserve the same excellence in leadership from my administration that we expect from them when they leave this historic institution. Less than 2 weeks ago, 40 of our outstanding young alumni were celebrated for their success stories, crossing careers from medicine to cybersecurity to law enforcement to cultural anthropology and more. Given time, the current group of students will join their ranks, well prepared and ready. First, let me address the student protests that occurred yesterday. While many have criticized the students, I believe this peaceful gathering represents the sincere dedication of many of our students to urge us to do better, move quicker, and find solutions. Student protests at Bethune-Cookman historically have helped to change our state and reshape our nation. My meetings with student leadership, as recent as last evening, have been earnest and will continue as we seek common ground. I applaud their intellect, judgment, and character as they express their concerns about their beloved institution. Understand, we prefer our students to be in class to learn, and I've expressed that to them directly. Yet, we all have an enormous stake in rescuing our university from the tragic fate that has befallen other HBCUs. When I took on this assignment, I pledged to do all that I could within my power to save, stabilize, and grow our beloved institution. I believe we made significant progress, but much remains to be done. To that end, I'll be sharing a copy of the President's Report Card, which covers the positive developments and achievements over the past year with each of you, if you desire, at the conclusion of our message here this morning. Second, we're in the midst of a crisis that challenges every facet of this university. The students, the faculty, the administration, staff, and board of trustees, along with the alumni and community that's been enhanced by our existence. As many of you are aware, our problems reflect the culmination of years of inadequate accountability, suspect governance, and quite frankly, inexcusable management decisions. In the last 5 years, we've experienced an existential threat to our legacy and our existence, the suspension of our accreditation, and a debt balloon in excess of $100 million. While my administration did not create these issues, we have no time to waste assessing blame. As our illustrious founder, Dr. Bethune, once said, without faith, nothing is possible. Yet with faith, nothing is impossible. Third, I stand before you today acknowledging the difficulty of our plight, but confident of our ability to emerge unscathed with our probation lifted, accreditation extended, our finances restored, and our administration and faculty delivering a quality education to our students. It's clear we did not devolve overnight to our present set of circumstances, and we will need patience and planning to overcome the crisis. There's little to be gained by detailing the unfortunate and potentially fatal financial decisions made related to our dorm transaction. However, at the appropriate time, we'll make all of the documents available to any interested parties to affirm the catastrophic consequences that must be remedied with dispatch. Clearly, a $100 million debt balloon would challenge the finances of any HBCU. And accordingly, we have enlisted the best financial and legal minds to help us in crafting both short-term action and thoughtful, sustainable, long-term plans to restore our financial stability which is at the core of our dilemma. Undoubtedly, the dorm transaction looms as our major financial hurdle, but other governance and financial issues have festered and further exacerbate the crisis. Transparency demands that I note that scholarship discrepancies have confounded our administration and are contributing to our financial issues. This was true in more than one category, some of which we've been able to address, while others remain. If students present themselves at our university believing that their costs are covered by scholarships that are unfunded, we have a problem that must be resolved. We've never strayed from our founders' belief that a thirst for education is the essential investment in the human soul. Our challenge is making certain that we have sufficient resources available to quench that thirst. Finally, we must allow our students to learn, our outstanding faculty to instruct, and our administration to lead. Our issues of governance clearly concern the accrediting organizations, and we intend to have frank discussions with our board, faculty, students, to delineate definable lines of responsibility in order for our administration to be successful in leading this university forward. I pledge openness as a prerequisite for victory, and which also means, though, that there are times when we may not be able to tell you everything that's going on behind the scenes until such time as those things are concretized. Yet, all the documents and transactions that preceded my administration will be available at the appropriate time, and many of these are already available in the public domain. All of our plans that offer relief from our debt crisis and those that who have been developed, once those are finalized, will then be made available. All of our constituents, students, faculty, administrators, trustees, alumni, and believers in our mission must join together to rescue an institution that's been a beacon of hope and inspiration since its founding. I love Bethune-Cookman, long before I took on the title of being the interim president, and therefore, collectively, with faith in God, the hallmark of our institution, we will not fail. However, we do need help in completing this journey. I'm inviting those who are willing to help to join me for a community roundtable to further share ideas and support for the institution that has an annual economic impact of over $300 million in this community. Thank you very much. Dr. Porter, would you make available copies of the President's report to our media friends, please? Thank you.
Judge Grimes, would you share some of your thoughts about your relationship with the current Board of Trustees and whether or not that's part of the problem and can be part of the solution?
Well, I think it's been well publicized and we have some differences of opinion. When I took on the task a year ago, it was with the understanding that I would basically do everything I could to fix the myriad of problems that we identified. And we're continuing on that journey. There probably are some people that believe that they can do it better, but nevertheless, I'm still committed to this journey and committed to working through whatever issues that we may be confronted with.
Was there anything shocking in the audit that you seen yourself?
No. Most of the work that was presented to the board preliminarily back in April essentially was the same information, but just a little more detail that was presented last year to the board, I would say last summer. But it is a continuing, ongoing process for us to make sure that we are getting all the information that we need.
But looking at what's been revealed, I mean, how detrimental is that information to this university?
I actually think it's the basis for us to rebuild. It certainly is a part of the overall process. It's a part of what's involving our litigation, and certainly some of those things within the litigation fund that we can discuss, and some of those things that we can't just yet. But in due time, those things will be made available.
What's the next thing that will happen? What can people look forward to next that you can reveal?
Well, we've got a big board meeting coming up in a couple days, on Thursday and Friday this week. We intend to present an updated part of our strategic plan to address the financial issues as well as the ongoing strategic plan. Every 10 years, we go before SAC-COC, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, Commission on Colleges, to submit what we call that accreditation review. That is coming up in 2021. But prior to that, the university has to submit and actually develop its strategic plan. And so I have submitted a draft plan to the board back in July. We will provide them with an additional, more detailed plan for their review this week. And so that includes basically 3 areas that we have been focused on. One is to restore the physical integrity of the school. 2, to enhance the academic enterprise. And 3, to improve the brand of the university. And all of the things that we do are actually tied to those 3 areas. And particularly as relates to the restoration of physical integrity, that includes dealing with the issues that we're confronted by. The dorm deal, resolving that, the other issues that are related to that, even down to making sure that we have a stronger financial base to operate from. All of that is a part of the proposed strategic plan that we will be submitting to the board.
Judge, I have a description of forensic accounting review that was dated 8/1/28 by Eric Orr, retired special agent of the Internal Revenue Service and CI Neor and Associates LLC. Could you give us a little bit of information about this if you are able to do that at this time?
I'm just gonna say that report speaks for itself.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Judge Grimes, you mentioned in proposing this press conference that the very existence of this historic university is at stake right now. What is the #1 issue, and is it that $100 million debt?
Well, that's one. Certainly in terms of going forward, we've got to deal with how we're going to be structured as a university. Right now, we are, from our very beginning, we are a private, historically black college, and now, of course, university. A big part of that also deals with we're an affiliate of the United Methodist Church. And those are some of the things that the board is going to be looking at. They have to make some determinations in terms of how we're going to move forward into the future. But those are just a part of the discussions that have to be carried on with the board.
Your press release said you're on the verge of extinction, which is pretty strong language.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That was something that was, I saw that as a headline myself.
Okay.
While I think differently.
You don't think that's the case? You don't agree with that?
I don't think that is the case at all for me, because the work that we're doing is going to catapult us way past that. But I think that alarm has gone off, and it recognizes that we do have issues that we gotta deal with. And if there are people in this community that want to help us, it's time for them to step forward. The criticism time is behind us. We acknowledge the fact that there have been a heck of a lot of mistakes. There have been some issues that are being investigated on multiple levels. But in order for our students to receive the quality education they need, truth be told, we need help. And this is a clarion call for that help from our community, stakeholders, and people that believe in this historic institution.
Sir, could you guys be more transparent with the students? We talk to students, they seem they're kind of like have anxiety, they don't know where things are going, they're worried. Is there a way the university can be more transparent to put the students on the progress of what's going on?
Well, we meet with student leadership. As I said earlier, I met with them as recent as last evening. And we explained to them the things that we can't explain to them at this time. There's still some negotiations going on, and in the middle of negotiations, you don't always give up that information because it could scuttle those negotiations. We are working every day diligently to try to address the financial problems. But I believe that these students at this time are still they're gonna get the education that they came for. And provided that the leadership continues in the direction that I have proposed it to do, then I believe we're gonna be okay. We're turning the corner. But there's still challenges out there, and there are challenges in front of us. And while I think that there are some who feel that the students' presentation yesterday was ill-advised, I think to the contrary. I think those students have a right to express themselves and be concerned. But I can also tell them that we can get through this, we can get out of this, but it's gonna take collective effort and not criticism.
Judge, can you discuss the discrepancy?
No, ma'am. I have no plans for that happening.
Because I think that was part of the fear and part of the headline.
Yes.
Could Bethune-Cookman University fold? Could its doors close?
I think that that's at some point down the road, I mean, I couldn't predict that, but I don't see that happening anytime in the near future. But the caveat is that we've still gotta work to address our issues. And that requires all of those stakeholders I just shared. It requires administration, it requires, the board, it requires our alums, it requires other stakeholders in this community. I think some people have given up on us. And there are people that have already written us off and say that, oh, they're gonna fall in the hole. I don't think so. That's not my leadership style. I'm a man of faith. I believe the same faith that got us from our founder having $1.50 to start an institution, which today you see it 86 acres and still going strong 114 years later. That same faith is going to help us to get there. But it also requires work. And that's what I'm committed to doing the work that's needed.
The press
Judge,
release
can you,
also, oh, I'm sorry.
can you discuss the discrepancy of the Embassy of Hope in the amount of $640,000 at this time? Or would you wait until the meeting
I
this
think
weekend?
that probably has to be done in the board meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to check that too. So you have nothing to add to or take away from at this point?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Can you
is the
confirm that
future?
that number is correct, the 640?
I've heard several numbers that have been tossed around, so, I don't know what that number is right at the moment. I've heard several numbers. So I've heard this number that she just shared, I've heard some other numbers too. So at this point, I can't confirm what the
But
number
that is a claim that's being investigated.
is. Yes.
The press release that was sent out last night specifically mentions an audit. How can we get our hands on that audit?
Well, it has to go through the board first.
Okay.
So the board has to decide what they want to do in terms of releasing that.
Along with transparency with the students, what is the future of us if you are terminated, being that we're on the probationary period?
Well, probation, my leaving this position in and of itself does not automatically cause us to lose our accreditation. However, it can be viewed as instability for the institution. And so that becomes a factor for SACS to consider.
So in 2020
Further, if you're talking about bringing someone else in at this time, it takes time for the next person to get seated. There are a lot of things that I have found out, and it's taken me 15 months that I've been here. So the question becomes, is it in the school's best interest to bring somebody else in for this period of time, even in anticipation of the fact that they're gonna bring in a permanent president, possibly at the end of the academic year?
Well, if you're not gonna share the audit with us, I wanna make sure I understand the gist of what that document said. Can you explain that to us?
I'm not quite sure which audit you're referring to, because there are a couple audits. We have our annual audit that goes before the board.
Well,
and
we
then there's-
received a press release last night that said the interim president will address the findings of the audit, a potential lawsuit, and why the historic university is on the verge of extinction. Did you not send out that press release?
Oh, that didn't come out. Not that those were, no, I did not see that press release.
Okay, well, this came from a group called, somebody named Beth Cucharella. Is she working on the university's behalf?
Yes.
Okay, well, she sent out a press release and that's what it said last night, and I think that's why we're all here.
Even though she may have sent that out, there are still some things that have to go through the board, and that part of it will be that audit. But for the audit review.
Having said that, Judge, could you specifically address anything you think that could be done that would right the ship, so to speak? For example, you mentioned you're historically a private university. Would that have to change? The association with Methodists, would that have to change? Is there anything you can give us concrete that you believe could turn things around?
I think we all gotta sit to the table, that's one of the things, and we gotta decide which direction we're gonna take. I can also tell you that during the course of my meeting with the board, I've shared with them 3 strategies I believe can help us to get the financial house in order. And that includes, one was we deal with the lawsuit that's ongoing, that we filed in order to protect our students. Number 2, the working with the bondholders that are standing in place with this particular financing project. And finally, number 3, to also utilize the services of some of our alums who have offered to assist us with helping to make contacts with people on Wall Street that can help us with the refinancing. That's critical. I think once we get that under our belt, then we're in a much better position to move forward and address the other issues that we have.
What about the other 2 lawsuits? You got a lawsuit against you as far as the MLK Law Projects is concerned. You got a foreclosure lawsuit against you by one of the big banks. What's the status of those lawsuits?
The foreclosure part is a part of that litigation with Quantum. It was filed by Wells Fargo, and it is indeed but it was Wells Fargo standing as a successor and the servicer of that loan. So that's a part of the first lawsuit that we filed. It's just it's a counterclaim and independent action on that. The second part is the one that you talked about with the Heron Group. Still remains open. We don't have a court date on that yet, but we have made a statement from the beginning that we would defend the university vigorously as it relates to that. The board has stated the board never approved that deal, which was required, and of course, you know, we're still moving forward on that.
How do you respond to the criticism that your leadership is impaired as a consequence of the fact that you've been involved both as counsel, as interim president, and as an advisor to the board, and that you've been joined personally in a number of these lawsuits, documents attached to them in the case that you sign off on some of those documents? How do you respond to the issue of possible conflicts of interest with regard to your leadership?
When I first saw that, I said it was a bunch of lies. I would tell you that, first of all, as a lawyer, we give advice, but clients make decisions. Secondly, I can tell you this, that I don't have any conflicts of interest as it relates to any of these dorm deals or things that were involved. I also did not become general counsel of the university, or university counsel, which is what my title was, until November 1st, 2015. That dorm deal was signed in April of 2015. And so there are those who have made these allegations, and some of the people that made those allegations know that they're inaccurate, but they continue to make those allegations. I stand on my record. I stand on the fact that I was the university counsel starting in November of 2015, and so therefore I was not a part of that.
Do you feel you've got the support of the Board of Trustees?
Well, I guess we'll see on Thursday. I can't fully answer that. I can tell you this, that yes, I think that we have at least for a significant number, I believe that we have the support going forward. And a number of them have been very actively involved with helping to right the ship. I think part of what the board does in any university setting is to raise money. And there's a phrase that says you should either give money, get money, or get off. And I would tell you that we are working to make sure that our board members fully understand that. And they need to help us with raising money, which is not just establishing contacts with other people and doing the things that need to be done to help strengthen our university.
Judge, the university has lost a lot of integrity these past few years. I want to commend you. I've known you over 30 years. I've known you to be a man of ethics. We have had some challenges here at this university, and we will continue to have those. I feel as though we need to clean house completely and start from the very beginning so that we can get to the root of these problems and reinstate Bethune-Cookman as one of the greatest HBCUs in the country. How do you feel about that?
Well, it depends on how you define cleaning house.
The elimination of everyone who is a part of, and I call it the collusion, that might be a very harsh word, but everyone that's not here at this university for the best interest of these students. Yesterday, these students were crying on my shoulders. I had to talk to mothers because there was so much stuff going on. Our students don't need to be crazy. They need to be in the classroom, and they need to be entering to learn and depart to serve. Going into somebody's employment is not going to help with what's going on now. Our students are suffering mentally and emotionally. And we need to get together with all of these students. You need to address them in an open forum as well as the trustee board members, and let them all come clean and let them know what's going on.
Well, I appreciate your comment. I would say this, that we have made a lot of changes in this timeline. There are a number of employees who were here this time a year ago that are not here any longer. When we find that there is some issue that needs to be addressed, we do our best to address that. Sometimes that means people don't like me for making those decisions, but I think I've been making decisions for about 30-some years of my career. So, you know, we'll continue to do what we believe is right, as long as I'm here in this institution. And to the extent we talk about our students, we have always had an open relationship with our students here on campus. We go out and we're around the campus. We walk around the campus. We're in the cafeteria. We're in the sports arenas. We're in the library. We're in the places where the students are. And certainly to the extent that we can calm those who feel that they're fearful of what's going on. There are some things that we can do to help that, and we've been very open. We've had a number of town hall meetings with both faculty and staff in our chapel to openly answer questions, addressing these types of issues, and certainly I don't have a problem doing the same thing with the students. Primarily, we've relied upon student leadership to convey that message, and I think last night it was a group of about 20 of them that came to me and asked. They had a number of very intelligent questions, and we responded to those questions, and they seem to leave there with some satisfaction that things are moving in the right direction. So we'll continue to do that.
Thank you.
There's a concept in the law of to avoid the mere appearance of impropriety. Also, as you know, as being a judge, that's one of the requirements of being a judge. Would you be willing to resign to avoid the mere appearance of impropriety with regard to conflicts of interest, etc.?
Mr. Cherry, that's your statement. That's not mine. I will
No,
tell
it's
you
a
this.
question. It's a question.
Well, I'm just saying this. You raised that issue and said that you believe that I have some level of involvement. I've said to you many times, and I stand by what I said, that I have no conflict of interest as it relates to all of these things that you're talking about. And even you published some things in your paper that even talked about my wife. I can tell you this, that we have been lovers of Bethune-Cookman for over 30 years, and we will continue to do everything that we can. I can also tell you that I had a great career as a judge, and the issue of whether or not there was ever any issue of integrity violation has never occurred in my career. And if I felt that there was something that there was a conflict, then I would not hesitate to take the appropriate action.
With all due respect, Judge, that's not responsive to the question. The question was talking about the mere appearance of impropriety. Secondarily,
Let me just say
wait a
this.
minute, let me finish. Regard to your wife, I indicated in full, in open kinds of idea that your wife was related to me by marriage. That's what I said about your wife.
Well, that wasn't what somebody else said that was published in the paper.
No, well, you can read the paper yourself.
I did. But as it relates to the appearance of impropriety, first of all, it has to be an appearance. And I don't think that there is an appearance of impropriety.
Okay,
I think
that
that's
answers my question. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Judge Grimes,
Yes.
do you believe all members of the board who are not looking for the best interests of the
I'm
university?
sorry, could you?
I'm sorry, do you believe that all members of the board who are not looking for the best interests of the university and the students have been removed?
Well, you know.
If not, how would you?
It's kind of hard to talk about your bosses like that. I think that there's some, obviously there are some differences that I have. In fact, a couple of the former trustees made some statements in the newspaper that I definitely disagree with. That was in the paper on yesterday. And there probably also is a need to make some adjustments here. And I guess that's gonna determine what the board seeks to do.
Thank you.
Is the school under criminal investigation?
No. I can tell you this, that we have cooperated with every governmental agency. In fact, I will also tell you that we initiated contact with the federal authorities about the dorm deal. We published that in the local newspaper here, probably at least a month ago or longer. And we initiated that contact and asked them to take a look at it, because we believe that there were some improprieties there that could very well raise to the level of possible criminal involvement. And so that's under review.
Judge Grimes, can you provide any further details about the federal or state investigation into the dorm deal?
I don't have any updates on it at this time. And, you know, they sort of take their own time in making those decisions, but I just can tell you that they're reviewing it. Okay?
Judge, do you feel as though some of your staff may be holding positions, I would say somewhat, that are maybe insignificant, exuberant salaries on this campus are being received by those who are not in those positions that are quality positions for these students or other staff and professors? Have you revisited the status of employees on this campus recently?
If you said exuberant salaries?
Yeah, just
Okay, exorbitant, okay.
over $100,000, and they sit in their offices and they're not responsive to the students or to you or to anyone else.
Well, let's just say that we currently do have a pay equity study going on.
Yes.
That's going to help adjustments.
Mhm.
Some of those adjustments have already been made. Some of them are scheduled to take effect on January 1. And we're looking at all those things as things that need to be adjusted.
Thank you.
Typically, the role of an interim president is to try to come in and get things right so that the person that comes behind them will have a clean slate start. So we're gonna continue on that journey.
What about nepotism on the university? Can you address that?
Actually, no.
Is there a policy in place for nepotism on the university's campus?
There has always been.
Is that being used as a tool for governance? Do you know of? Husband, wife, mother, daughter, because
Traditionally, Bethune-Cookman has a lot of family members.
that are grandfathered in.
Well, I just said traditionally,
Mhm.
Bethune has hired a lot of folks that are related to each other. That's just been tradition over the years. But none of them, nepotism typically is when a person is supervising another
Right.
that's related by blood marriage. And to my knowledge, I don't have anyone like that, to my knowledge.
Judge, can you talk specifically about how this university is funded? I know there's concern about federal funding based on the probationary status. What is the exact funding sources for Bethune-Cookman?
It's a tuition-driven institution, meaning that the predominant part of our budget comes from students, comes from their payment of tuition, which then often comes from either direct payments from parents, financial aid, scholarships, things of that nature. That's the bulk of it. In addition to that, we also do receive government grants, government contracts, research dollars, monies from our, that come from donations given to us by donors, and gifts that come to the university. But the predominant part of it is that we are a tuition-driven institution. Okay.
What is the relationship that you have with Chairwoman Michelle Carter Scott in regards to the rumors that she has a vendetta towards you, and that's why she wants you to leave?
Well, you're hearing what I hear. You're hearing what I hear. And, yes, we'll have to see how all of it plays out.
One question, in terms of complete transparency, even though you're a private institution, are you willing to make all of the records, the meetings, et cetera, open to the public? Traditionally, the Board of Trustees meetings have been closed, even to alumni. Is that going to change?
Well, it has to be a decision of the board. We have made some recommendations. In fact, after the National Alumni Convention back in June, there were some conversations about different ways that we could become more open so people would know what we're doing in the board meetings, but no decision has been made on that as of yet. We will probably receive an updated report, the board will receive an updated report from its task force on university operations, and I don't know if that's gonna be included in there, but there have been several different proposals thrown out on the table on how we can become more visible to the public and let them know what we're doing.
What's your position on that?
I think that there's room. I think there's ideal room for us to be able to do so. I mean, and that might be having some, the meeting open, and then dealing with other matters such as, things like limited, which would be like employment-related issues, things like that. That could be done in executive session, but I think that it's certainly a concept we need to look at. I mean,
What about furloughs, your Judge? Can you discuss furloughs with us at this point? There have been a lot of talk about furloughs.
Truth be told, that's all that was. We explored a number of different things in order to create some cost-cutting measures. That was one of them.
Okay.
But we actually put that on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Very well. Thank you very much. I think for those of you that wanted to see the other report that we gave, the report card, talked about things we did in this past year. Those are available there, but if, I'm not so much focused on what we've done already, but looking forward to what we need to do to get us to the next level. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Hell, Wildcats.